gas masks. Let's talk about it. Good evening, I'm Toby, and this is Lapis 210. Tonight we're going to talk about the need for a gas mask and why you as a civilian or a law enforcement or military professional should make sure you have a mask, protective mask, filtration mask for your respiration, or what they call a gas mask. It's important that you take any kind of emergency situation seriously. So in this instance, when we look at the need for a mask, a protective mask, whether it's a aerosol filtration system like a paintings mask, a welding mask, some kind of face mask that offers more protection than what you get with your standard N95 or N97 mask that can help with pollutants in the air, real pollutants, or a full protective mask like you see here from Mira Safety. It's critical that you have the right kind of personal protective equipment that will facilitate both safety and survival. So why would you need such a mask? Well, we should look at the importance of knowing about emergency situations, whether it's dealing with high dust or pollutants, whether it's dealing with smoke and carbon monoxide issues, whether it's dealing with civil unrest and the types of chemicals that are used to contain crowds or pacify crowds, or even worse than that, the remote chance of biological, nuclear, or chemical warfare. Having a protective mask is critical for survival. That's why it's issued to police, it's issued to the military, it's issued to federal employees. Even if they're not issuing one directly, when you work overseas or work in a facility, those masks are available to those employees. They're normally kept on site in public domains or locations so that they can be easily accessed during an emergency situation. I've seen this overseas, both in different theaters of operation, be it the Philippines, Iraq, Afghanistan, and other locations. Having protective equipment is a critical task that has to be facilitated in order to make sure that you have the kind of gear that you need to survive or avoid serious bodily harm or injury. So when you look at what you're choosing, well, I have two examples here from Mira Safety, the CM6M and the CM7M. Both offer different qualities that are unique to themselves, but in the end, still facilitate the baseline, a full sealed, insured mask. When I say insured, meaning that it's got the right certifications and endorsements. It's met the strict criteria for several different countries and federal organizations, both domestically and abroad. It uses the standard NATO 40 millimeter filtration system that you see on all military gas masks. Pretty standard fare across the board. It's a NATO standard. While I don't have one on this one, it is designed to hook up to this, what's called a PAPR, a powered air purification system. Basically, this provides forced air through two filters, but we'll go more into that in a minute. When you see here, but the full face shield versus a more condensed face shield, this is designed more for shooting and offensive operations, while this is meant for a lot of your other operations that you'd be doing or normal fare of tasks, standard civilian use. Again, both have their merits, but both are critical. Both use a hypoallergenic and non-corrosive resistant rubber, so it's going to ensure that you get good protection, long life. It won't become brittle as easily as a cheaper plastic or rubber might. It gets a proper seal. Both are upgradable for multiple different types of filters and different add-ons. While these are both capable of supporting hydration through a standard U.S. military hydration system that's used by several different NATO countries, Camelback also facilitates and supports that through their system as well. So you can actually drink water while not having to take off this mask. Your mask can remain donned and on and still stay hydrated. These masks again allow for a good inflow of air and be able to push the moisture and air out through one-way valves, which also helps reduce fogging and the condensing of moisture on the inside glasses of this. These are tempered glass or safety material, so they're not going to break, chip, or shatter easily. It'll take quite a bit of force. But like anything, if you leave them out in the sun, you don't take care of these, you can damage these masks, but that's true with anything. As a diver, it was very important that we made sure that we took good care of our dive equipment, and the rubber that we use on all the seals are one of those things where you have to keep them maintained, keep them clean, keep them rinsed and dry after you've rinsed them. there's a maintenance involved with anything we have, and it's easy when you start getting a large swath of equipment and other infrastructure and supplies to forget to make sure that you're maintaining your equipment. Like anything, the equipment can be the best that you can buy, but if you don't take care of it, it's not going to serve you well. So make sure you take the proper steps necessary to look at all those kinds of issues that come with owning personal protective equipment. Now we've kind of discussed briefly the Mira safety systems. There are two here that I didn't mention. There is the new 8M. That's basically a combination of both of these. It's a shooter's design with a full face shield. And there's also a system called the Tapper. It's a tactical air purification and respirator, similar to what we have here, but meant for more adverse use. This is a simple system I picked up, was recommended to me by a friend working in Afghanistan with the levels of pollution that we dealt with, especially in outside gyms. A lot of us wore these kinds of respirators that allow us to purify the air while we're working out. Now the benefit to that was these do restrict some airflow in. So there was an added benefit of improving your cardio, but this ensured that as we were throwing stuff around the gym when we're working outside, or if the pollution got high like it does in the winter, especially in Kabul, we weren't breathing in all those pollutants, or at least mitigating how much we were exposing ourselves to those pollutants. And for you to understand the importance of this, the pollutants would get so bad, the air quality would get so bad in Kabul, it would actually delay aircraft coming in and leaving. Think of it as an extremely dense, thick fog, but what it was smoke. People burning tires, trash, wood, whatever you can think of, plastics, whatever they could do to stay warm in the winter, given the lack of a proper grid and the ability for people to afford to stay warm. Burning was a commonplace outcome for that. So using a simple filtration device like this allowed us to protect ourselves. Now you'd ask, why am I not using bigger filters? Well, the idea behind this was it was minimalized, it was easy to stick into a bag and take with me, but also ensured that I could shoot with this on. As you can see here, the mask here over here on the 7M, I have the particulate filter, all right, on this side is my non-dominant side, so I can ensure that I have proper stock weld for 95 to 99% of my shooting solutions are going to be from my right side. Only in an emergency or a austere situation when I want to shift to my non-shooting side. I wouldn't do it for fun. I want to ensure the greatest chance of success if I have to engage somebody. Thus, I want to set up my equipment for that. On this one, I also have the block, I can do on both of these, that blocks any air from coming in for this port. You could do a double port, that's perfectly fine, and that's available. Usually one's fine enough for that. I have an example of another Mira safety filtration system here. This is one of their higher tiers with the activated carbon in here, and is going to do a lot of abduction to reduce and collect all that pollutants coming in and making it bind in the material that's in here. This is for more austere conditions, but I can assure you that even the basic particulate mask is going to do what it's asked to do. This one's focused more on smoke, carbon monoxide, and some of the other pollutants they might deal with, but all these are rated for a lot of the basic MBC needs that you're going to face. The good thing about the standard P3R filter that I have here on the 7M is that this particular filter can be cleaned and reused, again, depending on the level of pollution or particulates that it's exposed to, what it's exposed to. Chances are you can reuse this. Like anything, make sure your environmental conditions are good when you're storing this equipment and cleaning it and then readying it for use again. With this, the Tapper would be a more preferred device than what I have here. We do not have a Tapper currently, but the Tapper is designed to be more congruent with a helmet and some of the other levels of PPE that we wear. A little heavier filtration than what's offered here. This is simply for welding. But again, because of its slim line, like the Tapper has from Mira Safety, this is going to give me, until I have something like that, this is going to give me a level of protection from gas and particulates in the air, whether it's simply just aerosol form, like say of a riot gas, a lot of basic smoke. It's not going to filter out all the carbon monoxide, but this is going to at least keep a lot of that bad stuff from getting into my lungs, a lot of the basic chemicals that are in the air from getting into my lungs, and it's going to increase my chances of survival, where I can get out of that situation and still breathe in the end. Because regardless of what you may think, when you're dealing with a lot of the OC spray that people are hit with, you see commonly that comes out of canisters, that's more directed to get into the eyes and irritate the skin. It can affect your lungs if you inhale it, but the idea is to make it to where you can't breathe and your skin's burning and cause a lot of irritation. The focus being the eyes. Obviously, a full face mask is going to protect you from that. With these, this is more focused for the aerosol. So when you're dealing with riot gas, while it's not a true gas until it gets into a specific vapor form based on humidity and temperature, this is going to give you a lot of that protection from the gases that you're, or as we call them gases, the canisters that allow them to crowd with the smoke. This is going to help mitigate that. The biggest thing with tear gas or riot gas is, yes, you're going to have irritation in the eyes. You're going to maybe face some irritation with the skin, but the biggest thing is to attack the respiratory system, making it so you can't breathe, you're choking, you're vomiting, overproduction of saliva. It's going to make it very hard for you to focus and breathe. And when you can't breathe, as you know, that kind of respiratory distress has a massive psychological and physiological effect on you. So if you can afford nothing else, this is a great place to start. I would prefer the Tapper over something like this if you can. But stepping up, the Mira safety masks are very affordable, and there's a multitude of other masks to choose from. Some are better than others. I would definitely, pay attention to what the certifications and the ratings are, what countries or agencies are using them. Mira Safety, like other bigger name brands, are going to have a multitude of documentation validating and showing that their use isn't just something you might find on the evil empire of Amazon or throughout the web. These are proven military grade and law enforcement grade and federal grade face protective masks and respirator protectors. Now, when you get beyond this, you start looking at some of the issues, let's say, with viruses. Well, viruses will blow right through this in the end. All right, this might stop some of it, but in the end, it's like throwing sand at a chain link fence. You're really not going to stop a virus. None of these are designed to stop full viral load. All right, if there's going to be an aerosol-based or air-based virus that's being passed from person to person, these were going to help with that, but they're not going to be the end-all be-all. The only real way to beat a virus is going to be in a completely sealed system around the face, even around the rest of the body. If you can't have that full sealed suit, but an air-provided system where you are locked out from air from the outside world and you're being fed air through a canister or from a filtration system in the facility that it's in, or something that's man-packable. So understand the tiered level of protection. While you have different levels of protection and filtration with different types of filters, and there's lots of videos to look up on all this, knowing that you're getting certified NATO spec filters that meet the HEPA standards, right? So they're meeting air quality filtration standards. They're meeting NBC standards, nuclear, biological, and chemical standards, right? They're blocking carbon monoxide. They're blocking a lot of the smaller and larger particulates together with activated carbon through abduction. Well, then that's really going to give you, adduction, not abduction. They're going to give you a lot more protection from a wider swath of environmental threats. But again, there's a limit to how well that these filters can last, how long these filters can last, and how well they can do. So if you take these filters beyond their prescribed use, maybe it's 24 hours, maybe it's 72 hours. It's going to be a point where the filter is no longer offering you the full level of protection. So having extra filters and ways to either clean and reuse the filters, like the P3 here, that's going to be great to have that on hand, or having more filtration online is also going to help you. Now let's talk a little bit too in terms of what you can add on to make your life better. There are comm systems that Mira Safety offers that lock into these and allow you to effectively communicate. Because remember, if you already have labored breathing because you're not used to breathing through a filtration system like these, if you don't dive, or you don't do things where you're working with respirators, or you're working in environments where you have to run filtration, then maybe that's removing asbestos, painting, dealing with mold. People who are dealing with closed-in environments that have to wear basic levels of filtration, working in a shop, right, or some kind of woodworking shop, it's becoming more common to wear filtration for that as well. If you're not used to that and in good cardiovascular shape, it's going to labor you. So if you're trying to yell through the mask to have effective communication, especially at distance, you're going to find that you're going to become quite labored, and your breathing is going to become labored, and it can be a cascading effect. You add into that people who aren't comfortable in enclosed spaces. These masks are going to offer a sense of claustrophobia if you're prone to that. Well, the face mask, the simple filtration respiration mask you see here, isn't going to have the same issues with that. Again, you are going to face labored breathing because you are pulling air through a filter into your lungs and pushing it back out through these one-way valves. So take that into consideration. What the Papper does, and while it is more pricey to add to that, the Papper adds the benefit of having dual filtration along with a powered system that's sucking air in and pushing air through the hose into the mask. Well, it's a multi-pronged attack that helps you, meaning it's forcing air in. It has two filters to bring air through, not just one. So it's doubly increasing both the intake of air and reducing the work that one filter has to do and spread loading it to two filters. So you get more air input, increased in duration of filtration and ease of filtration. And then you have an active fan system that's pushing air in through the hose up into the mask. So it makes breathing far less labored and far more, and greatly improves your cardiovascular output. But it also does more than that. Because you have a forced air coming in, it's also going to help reduce sweating inside the mask. It's going to help reduce fogging. It's going to be a morale booster all the way around. The only real drawback on a system like the Papper that Mira Safety offers is going to be, one, partly the cost, but two, storing it. Now, that does come with a swath bag or a sling bag that you can put the filtration system in and carry it with your mask. So if you're just in standard civilian attire, you're wearing a fancy little tracksuit like this, then that makes it easy. You can simply throw it over your shoulder with your mask. You have your double filtration right here. You know, Bob's your uncle, that's fine. If not, you can take a more tactical approach. I have it mounted here with an R2S system from Matchpoint USA. It's a quick adapt attachment system, so it simply allows me to simply lock in and attach the filtration to the back of the equipment. And I'm piggybacking this with the guys from Grayman Tactical. Paul graciously supplied that grid system, and it's the right size to mount the system to. I trimmed it a little bit so I didn't have any excess hanging off of it, and now I have a perfect fit for the filtration. I can again change out these filters to facilitate greater filtration like I do with this and other offerings. They go right on, so that's easy to do. It gives me positive pressure, forced ventilation coming in, so it's going to greatly reduce my anaerobic output and reduce my anaerobic input and give me improved output. So it's really going to help me perform better, give me more air, reduce the sweating and fatigue that I'm going to face, and reduce the amount of work that one filter has to do and spread it up between two. Regardless of what you want to do and what you perceive the threat to be, having good filtration for your safe respiration is, I think, a critical thing. Whether you buy into the argument for environmental disasters increasing, and global warming, that's up to you to decide. Regardless of that, we can see the need to make sure that we have positive filtration and safety for our respirations, for our face and eyes, is a non-arguable point. Whether we're dealing with what happened in Ohio with the train derailments, whether we're looking at civil unrest, fires around the house or the property. All right, wildfires were quite common last year, so all these things have an impact on how well we can egress from those dangers and how well we're going to do in the face of them. I think it's important. Mira Safety is a gracious sponsor of this channel. They helped us out quite a bit. So I'm happy to showcase their products here. I believe in their products. They're seen worldwide. For me, the proof is in the pudding. I can objectively endorse these products, not because they gave them to me, but because I see them as a quality product from a first world country that produces them. They're sold here with great success and with great performance, and the price point's not going to kill you. So you can definitely get great value out of running these masks. Even if you can't afford Mira Safety, there's a multitude of masks you can choose online on Amazon or at your local hardware stores. Again, I have this little guy here until I can get a Tapper in. This is a great way to go for something small that I can throw in my bag and deal with environmental disasters that way too. But this is very limited compared to what I have here. And again, you have to choose the right tool for the right job. So I wouldn't just say this is the end all be all, this is the end all be all. You can tier these systems up and down based on what you need or based on what you perceive the threat to be. I think having multiple levels is going to be a smart choice. And you don't have to go as crazy as I did here with the Papper, but if you do think that respiratory distress and the threat of what could be inhaled is a serious issue, the Tapper is a smart investment. It's going to greatly reduce your workload and really increase your output and what you produce, and really offer you the best opportunity for survival. Because in the end, that's why we do this. It's not for for the sake of having it. It's for the sake of being safe and being prepared. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. From the bottom up, take in your environment, and from the top down, make sound decisions. I'm Toby, and this is LAPIS 210.